Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 13, Review. Alright, so I actually just got done watching the episode tonight. That's what I want to try to do more, is making these reviews right after the episode, because then everything's fresh and I kind of know exactly, what happens. If I wait a day or maybe two, then I may, forget some pivotal points or, just forget something I want to talk about. So that's what I'm going to go for in the future, and yeah, so I just got done seeing it, and then I also watched the Terror premiere that they had on there. So they basically had The Walking Dead for its hour runtime, and then they had the premiere for the Terror, the new show that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be a very interesting show, very scary, but anyways, I will have my review up right after this one for that as well, because I was able to see the premiere. I didn't know that they were actually doing that. I knew that they were doing some sort of sneak peek for it, but I didn't know that it would actually be the whole hour. So it actually premieres tomorrow night, but I'd like to get the review up right before then, and then hopefully we can have some discussion then tomorrow night when it airs for the general public. And I mean, I guess if you didn't tune in to The Walking Dead tonight, I don't think you would have tuned into it. I mean, it was kind of just an exclusive thing that they did. So anyways, that'll be up after this one. And yeah, so I really like an AMC right now. I think they're exploring some great things with McMafia, now the Terror, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. They're doing a lot of great things right now, and in the past they've really been that sort of like token channel, like they have that one good show and that's it. But now they're really exploring other options, and I'm really liking it. So anyways, now to this The Walking Dead episode tonight, episode 13, Don't Lead Us Astray. That was it, right? Yeah, Don't Lead Us Astray. So yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. I thought it was very good at the very beginning, but then towards the end it kind of fell off, and it kind of went downhill. But honestly, I didn't like it as good as last episode, I'll tell you that right now. It was not as good as last episode. There were some things in here that I just didn't like. And I'll talk more about them, but first I just want to, get to this recap, try to get through it a little bit quicker than usual, and then, get to a reign fair character, because I do want to do this Terror review as well after this, so this one should be a little bit quicker. So we start out this episode here with the lookouts sounding the horns. They're all sounding the horns on the truck, so this was like their kind of signal that the saviors are coming, right? So that they see the saviors are coming. So then the saviors converge on the hilltop, and Jerry gives her, a little wave. Nice to see Jerry again, by the way. Nice to see him. I know he's kind of a fan favorite at this point. Just, kind of pure hysterical, anecdotal, I guess, character. But anyways, so Maggie says, "Here we go," looking at the camera. And then we also see that Morgan begins to see Gavin. And then Gavin's, saying some stuff to him. And obviously, Gavin's not there. He's dead. But, Morgan is seeing Gavin now, and kind of dealing with those repercussions, and we see a little bit more of this later on. And we also see Ezekiel's back. He kind of just mysteriously disappeared for the last two episodes. We saw everybody else at the hilltop but Ezekiel. So I'm still wondering a little bit about that. Again, that comes with the problem that, do they have enough money to pay every single, high build cast member to be in every single episode? Probably not, right? So that's why they have to cut some characters out here mysteriously, and that kind of happened to Ezekiel here. But he's back, and he was, I would say, a big part in this episode. He had quite a few lines and screen time as well. So then we see that Maggie's conversation with Simon as he pulls up. So they're on the radio, the walkie-talkie there, and Simon, he says some funny things here. I mean, and this was seen in the preview. I think this was all in the preview, this whole conversation with Simon and Maggie. So I did see it before, but it was interesting to see again. Simon, says, "Negan's not here." Right, I'm basically in place of Negan right now. And then Maggie uses basically her biggest chip, right? She puts it all on the table here. She goes all in, and she just comes out. She says, about the 38 prisoners. She says, if you come in here, I'm going to kill all 38 of them. But if you leave, then I won't harm them, right? So she says that. And Simon basically doesn't give a shit. I mean, he said 38 prisoners mean nothing to him. It's kind of their fault for getting captured. They're not one of us if they're going to get captured or whatever. So that's Simon right now. He's focused on killing. He doesn't really care about his own people, even though those 38 people were from his own outpost. Those are people he cared about and who he led. So, anyways, so then they get to fighting, right? Because that doesn't work. So then the fighting just ensues, and a huge battle ensues as the Saviors arrive, right? They come to the gates, and then we see Daryl on the motorcycle, started a little bit, start firing at them. I think he picks off 2 or 3 of them, and then he goes into the gates, right? So now, of course, they want to get into the gates before they close, but it was all a trap to begin with. So I really found in this episode the survivors, or at least in this battle, the survivors outsmarted the Saviors in every facet. I mean, they had everything, hooked up, they had everything ready, and they had all these traps set, and the Saviors fell for all of them, honestly, right? So, anyways, they get in, but then it's a trap, of course. They hit that bus, and then they're basically just, I want to say bamboozled, but that's not really, I guess jumped pretty much by everyone, by all the survivors. So we see fighting on both sides, lots of gunfire back and forth. Then we see Daryl, see Dwight and Simon going towards Tara. They're actually about to take her out, maybe. And she actually gets hit with an arrow in her shoulder from Dwight. Dwight fires at her and hits her in the shoulder. And then we also see Tobin get stabbed. By a Savior who goes by, and then that Savior gets gunned down before he's able to kill Tobin. But the survivors still look to be winning. Outside of those two, they look to kind of be overwhelming the Saviors at this time, right? They look to be winning. And then all of a sudden, the gunfire completely stops, and everything just goes dark. So, and this was like, you knew something was about to happen, but you just didn't know what, you just didn't know when. So this was really cool. So then Simon and the Saviors come out from the bus, and they're kind of just wandering around. They're like, oh, these people run before, maybe they're doing it again, and whatever, right? And then Simon says, it's time for a proper slaughter. That's a pretty big thing to say, right? So obviously he just wants to kill them all. So he says that, and they basically just walk right into a trap. I don't know how the Saviors don't see this. I mean, it's pretty obvious, as a viewer to see this. But anyways, it is a trap, and they get gunned down basically as the lights go on. One by one, all the windows in the Barrington house then are filled with people with machine guns, and they all fire just down on them as the Saviors are just they're unguarded without any cover, which is stupid. But anyways, so the Saviors retreat back then, and so they're looking to get out of there because now they've been basically massacred. I would say at least at that point there's I would say about half of them probably died here. Maybe not half, maybe like a third of them definitely died in this battle that were there in the first place. Anyways, they retreat back, but then Rick comes with a group behind them basically and cuts them off from getting out and guns some of them down, and then just goes all out with his hatchet or axe or whatever you want to call it. Just a badass moment here from Rick. It's been a while since we've seen this Rick. Last episode we saw a little bit about it, but not him just like massacring people one by one. But that was a great moment. So he goes through with his axe, takes out a few Saviors, and is able to do that. But then they lose some of the Saviors. They kind of get loose. Dwight and Simon and some of the other bigger guys get out, and they're able to actually get in their trucks and get away. They're able to drive away. And they see Maggie and Rick going after them. They fire at them, of course, but, it doesn't really do anything. But I would like to say, though, there was only 2 trucks, though, that they took. So they came with, I would say, like 6 or 7 trucks there, and they only went back with 2. So, obviously, that says that they have lost quite a lot of people there, that there's been quite a few people killed if they can fit everyone in 2 trucks on the way back. So, yeah, definitely it was successful, but not quite to the extent where they wanted to. And we see that when Rick and Maggie say they wanted all of them to die. They wanted to get all of them, not, to let them leave and kill, some of them. So anyways, obviously that wasn't their objective to let them go, but I would say it's an accomplishment. I would say they won this battle, and, more battles won, is obviously going to lead to probably winning the overall war. So yeah, anyways, I thought it was a really quick battle scene, really quick sequence at the beginning of the ep. I think it only took about 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the episode, and that was it, right? That was like basically the whole scene there. It was really quick. I would have liked, honestly, I could have seen this played out through a whole episode, this whole battle scene. I feel like they could have extended it a little bit. But anyways, I'll get to a little bit more of that later on when I get to some of my thoughts. But yeah, so that's kind of what happens there. Rick and Maggie are kind of left there, watching them drive away once again. I mean, that's happened multiple times so far in this season, but also last season as well at the end. So we see Tara and Daryl share a little bit of a moment. Tara is okay, as we can see, right? No effects. The arrow, she says it's just grazed her pretty much, so it's not a huge deal. So Dwight just skimmed her with an arrow. That's what she says. And Daryl says he doesn't trust trust Dwight. I don't know what's going. He can't trust Dwight. And then they talk about the governor and Merle. Tara brings those two in and says, comparing Dwight to being with the Saviors as her being with the governor, and then Merle being with the governor and being with those bad people. And I really love this when they bring up, past stuff like this, and especially like we're at season 8, episode 13, and this stuff was like in season 4. So 4 years later, they're bringing this up. I love when they do that in the show, when they relate stuff. So that was really good. And then Tara says she's square with Dwight for killing, even, after he's killed Denise, because he saved her life in 2 episodes ago. He saved her life from those other saviors. So that's very interesting, right? We totally see her flip-flop now. 2 episodes ago, she wanted him dead. She tried to kill him. And now she thinks they're square. She said, I might hate him forever, but we are square. We're even now. And Daryl thinks otherwise. He doesn't trust Dwight at all. He thinks that Tara is dead wrong in this, and I feel like Daryl is going to kill Dwight, or at least try to kill Dwight as soon as he can. He really is not buying into what Tara's trying to sell him. So we see Tobin. He seems all right in the infirmary, right? He seems like he's going to live. It didn't look like it, though. Like, that stab wound looked pretty serious. It looked like it was right around the heart area. So I don't know. But anyways, so he starts talking with Carol there. And this was interesting. This was an interesting scene. So then Carol apologizes for leaving him back in season 6 in East. That was the episode where she left him. Season 6, episode 15. Like, I forgot about that. Like, this is the thing with the show. There's so much stuff going on, so many storylines at once here. You easily forget about the past of what has happened. And they're just coming back to this. Like, 2 years later, they're coming back to the storyline. It's like, wow, like, I forgot about this, right? But anyways, it was interesting. She apologizes then. And then, she says why she left. She didn't want to keep fighting or whatever. So then he asks her, are you going to leave us again after this? I thought that was a very good question because, we don't know what's going to happen with Carol, right? It's going to be interesting to see what she actually is going to do after this war is over. Because before the war, she didn't want to fight. She wanted to be left alone. And she kind of got thrown into this now. She's with it. She's fighting it. But what is she going to do afterwards when it's over? Is she going to leave again? Leave the group? Who knows, right? So I felt like this brought up an interesting topic here. And then Carol also tells Tobin, winning just means we get tomorrow. So that was an interesting little thing there as well, right? She doesn't think winning is the big picture. She just says, winning means we survive, meaning we get tomorrow. So it was interesting. I feel like that was a quote that probably is going to describe what she does going forward after the war happens. So we see Henry grab a machine gun and leave the Barrington house. So, a gun in this kid's hand is, like, really scary right now. He's on a bad path, and, of course, we see this later. So then, this part, I mean, I could not believe this. I did not see this coming this week. I did not think it was going to work. I'm not a comic book reader. I'm not, but I've heard so many things about this now that the Guts plan does not work in the comics, and it's what actually helps Rick's group. Now, I know I'm, spoiling a little bit here, but it's not a huge spoiler. Like, in the comics, this plan is, like, just totally disregarded. Like, it's not, you don't really think it's ever going to work. But in the TV show, they totally flip-flop this. I apologize for the spoilers there for the comics, but honestly, I haven't read them, so I'm not, like, exactly telling you how, in this issue this happens, right? I'm not doing that. But anyways, and I assume everyone's read that point in the comics anyways. But anyways, Tobin then turns in the infirmary. he's not dead, he hasn't been bitten, but he turns. That, like, it's crazy. So the guts plan worked. Holy shit. I said it in front of my TV. I'm like, I could not believe that this guts plan actually worked and that Tobin turned, right? And he turned as a result of being stabbed with that, with a guts weapon, right? So he eats the man that's there, that's trying to help him, and then he continues to eat the woman doctor that's seen before, so that's another doctor gone. They've killed 2 doctors in the last 3 episodes, but anyway, and also that leaves Sadiq as the only doctor now, like the only doctor now, so that's interesting. But anyways, so then he turned, obviously they turn, right, they die, and then the new turned walkers, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them there, enter the Barrington house where everybody is sleeping, and it's like, that's just crazy. It's horrifying, right? You're just sleeping there, and all of a sudden these walkers come in. This exactly reminds me of back in season 4, I believe, in the infected sort of storyline there in the prison. This is exactly the same. One person dies. He comes in, eats them when they're sleeping, and then this big whole, chaos ensues. Pretty much exactly what happened in this. We've seen it before, but it was really interesting because it was just totally unexpected. But anyways, they enter where everybody is sleeping. They start massacring the people on the main floor. They start eating them, and just biting them and everything like that. And luckily, Rick and the others then wake up once they hear screams and stuff, and are able to stop some of them. But some of them are already bitten and even dead, right? Some of them are already dead. And then Rick actually amputates one of the survivors, just cuts off his arm to save him. So hopefully that works. I don't know if we're going to see the result of that, but hopefully that works. And yeah, so they're able to stop them for the time being and basically stop the chaos, but there's still some alive that are going around. So anyways, that's a big thing there. I'll get to that a little bit later, like I said before. Big thing, big part of this episode. So we see Henry goes to the prisoner's pen with a machine gun and asks for the guy who killed his brother. I love how he first wakes up Gregory. Let me tell you, Gregory, honestly, a lot of people hate him. I don't hate him. I just think he's hilarious. I think he's just such a useless character right now that it's just funny to see him on screen. Like, why is this guy still alive? You know what I mean? I just find it funny. I don't really hate the guy anymore. But anyways, some people do. I know some people just want to see him die. But anyways, so he asks for the guy who killed his brother, which is obviously Jared, the long-haired savior. But he doesn't admit to it. So then as the chaos begins, they start to hear the screams and everything. Henry opens the pen up and goes inside. So, at this point you're like, okay, something's going to happen here. This was not a good idea for Henry to do. So then he threatens to shoot them all if the killer doesn't come forward, right? He really wants to kill the guy who killed his brother. Obviously, this means that he didn't believe Morgan that told him it was Gavin. Anyways, meanwhile, one of the prisoners turns and starts attacking one of them. So this girl was also, I guess, sliced or something, or got a shot, a ricochet. So she turned as well inside the pen. So she starts attacking them as well. And then Jared then takes this opportunity and takes out Henry, gets his gun from him, which is like, the kid's so, the kid's just a little boy with his gun. This was just a bad thing waiting to happen, right? Like, this is such a bad idea. But anyways, Jared then takes his gun and he says, the gate's open, boys. And it was like, I just wanted to see the guy gunned down right there. But anyways, the prisoners escape along with Gregory. I thought that was hilarious. Like, just seeing his face, he's like, well, I guess I better go, right? And he runs off with them. I love it. But anyways, those prisoners escape. Well, obviously, we see that some of them stay later on. And it's like, Henry, everyone has told you. Even some of the saviors in there told him not to do it. It's not a good idea. And yet he goes in and he basically blows up all of the prisoners that they had. So, anyways, really predictable there, but still really just annoying to see. So then Rick and the others clear the house finally. They actually put down all these walkers, make sure it's safe. And then Carol has to put down Tobin. So that was a little bit emotional, but again, foreseeable. As they had that conversation before, you knew that Carol was going to find him and all that stuff. That's just, typical Walking Dead. But anyways, she puts down Tobin then finally, and then they start to realize what the Saviors did with their guts plan. And I was a little bit suspect of this because, like, did Rick really see Negan's bat in the guts? I'm just trying to figure this out because it didn't seem to me like that was pointed out last episode. I feel like this was a little bit of a plot hole here because I don't think Rick actually found that out last episode. I think this is a little bit I don't know. It just doesn't make complete sense that Rick and the others would figure this out right away, that they put guts on their weapons, right? I just don't see it. I just don't think that's realistic. But anyways, that's what happens. So they figure this out, so immediately they go to Tara, right, who has been hit. She's the only one who hasn't really turned. She looks normal, though. She looks fine, so, maybe. But they think that she will turn next. They think that she's the next one. And I love that she says karma's a bitch, right? Because she wanted Dwight dead more than anything, and now she may die because of him, for, wishing him dead. So, interesting stuff, and obviously the episode ends, and we don't know what happens to Tara. So, we'll have to see, but honestly, she looks fine. She doesn't look like she has a fever or anything like that so far. And all the other ones turned already. So maybe she's safe. Maybe it just grazed her. Maybe Dwight shot her with a non-guts arrow. We don't know yet. Hopefully she doesn't die. I don't want her to die. A lot of people are saying she needs to die. She's a useless character now. But I don't mind her. I like it. I feel like she adds the upbeat personality to the show that we need sometimes, and I'd like to see her survive this war, but she might not. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, that's a cliffhanger for next episode to see what happens to Tara. Then we see Maggie and Jesus come out to find the pen empty. Maggie obviously not happy about this, but we see some of the prisoners decide to stay, including the one guy. I'm not sure his name. I really am not sure his name, but anyways, he's kind of like the main guy, the spokesperson for them, who's been talking to Maggie a little bit. And yeah, so him and a few others decided to stay because they see that Simon and Egan don't care about them anymore. So why go back to them, right? Why go back to them and maybe even face death, right, from Simon? Who knows? So then some of them try to barricade the gates after the others left, led by Jared and the others. So that's going to be interesting. But anyway, so yeah, so we see that they actually do care about the community. They're trying to barricade the walls. They're trying to keep the group safe. So that's very interesting, right? A very interesting twist here that some of them actually totally flip-flop sides and are now, with the Hilltoppers. And also we see the group then looks for Henry and can't find him. He's gone. So that's interesting. I mean, what's going to happen now? I don't know why they try to find him. Anyways, I'd probably be fine if they just left him for a few episodes. But anyways, we know that that's going to be a storyline here, and they're going to try to find him and ask him what happened. But yeah, I found it really interesting that some of them kind of flip-flopped and decided to stay. That was very interesting. I like that little development there. And it was also, like, unpredictable, right? You think that all of them would, escape. All of them would leave as soon as possible. But after seeing what Simon said, they basically don't matter, to him. Why go back, right? It makes sense, right? Anyways, then we see at the very end, again, Morgan haunted by Gavin. He's coming back. I think it happened 3 times, actually, 3 sequences in the episode where Gavin comes back. He said, "You know what it is," and he's yelling at Morgan. And he also says, "You should have done it," or "You were supposed to." And, of course, that goes back to the Clear Morgan days, right? "You were supposed to," "I had to." Those phrases, right? And you know what it is. That's another good phrase that was used back then. So Morgan beginning to blame himself for Henry's actions, we kind of see here, right? And he's kind of going back to that clear mode, where he's not really in touch, with everything, and he's beginning to see things now, which is obviously not good, and really like blame himself for Henry's actions when it wasn't him, although he probably should have killed Gavin so Henry couldn't, but you really just shouldn't have killed Gavin in the first place. He didn't have to, right? So that's very interesting. We'll have to see where that develops for Morgan. A little bit more on that later. So then Maggie looks over the graves at the very end of the episode here in the last couple of minutes. And she said, I think the one girl, the Archer girl, I can't remember her name, but she asked Maggie, like, what's wrong or, like, what's so bad or something like that. And she says, the cost. Just 2 words, but they mean a lot, right? So many lives lost after just one battle for the Hilltop. Yes, probably more saviors died in this battle, but even the aftermath with the walkers coming in the Barrington house and killing some people, that's a cost, right? There's always a cost for these wars and these battles, and this is kind of like the first time Maggie has seen that cost firsthand with all these graves, and I thought that was very interesting. Maybe that's going to affect Maggie. Maybe she's starting to see that is it really worth it going through all of this fighting if this is the cost, if we're going to lose all these people? So very interesting going forward. We'll have to see how that affects Maggie. And then that's the end of the episode. That's how it ends, with her looking on the graves. And there were sure a lot of graves there. There was at least 20 of them, I would say, newly buried people who lost their life in this battle. So anyways, crazy stuff there to end the episode, right? I think that's a really resonating idea. That's going to continue to to guide Maggie forward. So, anyways, that'll just about do for the recap. Now I'll get to my rating, favorite character, and some overall thoughts. All right, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.4 out of 5. So I thought the fighting at the beginning was awesome. I thought that was like a really, really good sequence. Kind of remind me of The Damned, right? Where we saw that continuous fighting for like a whole sequence, right? But my question is, why so top heavy? Like the beginning of this episode, the first 10 to 15 minutes was awesome. Chaos, just, constant gunfire and just, endless fighting. But then the rest of the episode was just kind of down, and it kind of fell off the rails a little bit. It got you going, right? Got that excitement, and then just kind of lost that as the episode went on. So why so top heavy? Maybe spread this battle out a little bit more. Like I said at the beginning, I would have been fine to just see a whole episode of the battle, right? Like, I don't know, that's just me. But I just felt like it was a little top heavy for this episode. I feel like they definitely could have extended it, or maybe even put some of it in last episode. I don't know, like they could have done something different here, because the episode ended up not, being the greatest, but the beginning was sure great, right? You know what I mean? So it just didn't really balance out at the end of the day. And like I said at the beginning, I like last episode quite a bit better than this one, although this one was good. So the Morgan storyline, I don't know. It's getting boring for me. It's really repetitive. It's Carol and Morgan have had like repetitive storylines the last 2 seasons. Morgan being the whole this clear, and then he comes back with a here's not here storyline. Then he doesn't want to kill anyone. Then he breaks that and he starts to kill people, but now he's resisting of that. But now he's going back to clear Morgan. Now he's, seeing things again. Now he's, we're getting these phrases back. You know what it is. You should have done it. You have to. Those phrases. And he's basically becoming clear Morgan again. It's like, we've seen this. You spent a season and a half even on this. Like, they got introduced back to Morgan season 3, and then he came back in season 6. And like, you've already literally spent like 3 years developing the storyline for Morgan, and now you're just using it exactly the same way again. And a lot of people are obviously going to say, like, oh, well, he's in this crossover, so they have to find some way to get him off the show, right? And this is a perfect way to do it. But, like, we've seen this already. We've seen this play out, and we've seen the results. Like, it's not surprising, right? So, anyways, to me, it's getting boring. It's getting repetitive. I'm not happy to see him go to the Fear the Walking Dead show, but if they're going to keep writing a storyline like this for the character over and over again, it's like, is he ever going to find a time where he either does not kill or he's, going to an extreme? Is he ever going to be in the middle? Like, is this, is Morgan capable of that? And obviously, so far, I guess not, right? He's either to one extreme or the other. But anyways, so I have to see how exactly that crossover goes down. I think that's going to happen, like, next episode or episode 15. I don't think it's in the finale, but I think it's going to be, obviously, he's going to leave the group and go off on his own, and then that's how he's going to cross over. So we'll have to see how that happens as well. The whole stuff with Henry was really predictable to me. I saw that exactly, playing out. I feel like everyone did, right? Everyone knew that was going to happen. So I don't know. I felt like it was just kind of annoying to watch, knowing what was going to happen, knowing that this Henry kid was going to, screw up. But anyways, I kind of liked it. I liked the whole part where the prisoners escaped and some of them stayed, and that was kind of as a result of Henry's actions. So I didn't mind that part at all. But Henry's obviously on a bad path right now, and they're gonna have to save him or something, or it's gonna be a look at the flowers moment there with Lizzie back in season 4, right, with the Grove. They're gonna have to either save him, like I said, yeah, or it's gonna be a look at the flowers, and they're gonna have to take him out, because, like, he's just out of control right now, and he's just gonna keep causing problems like this, or someone needs to just look over him and make sure, like, he stays in the house, right? So that would also solve it as well. And the Guts plan working. wow, I did not see this coming. I did not think it was going to work. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to like come out and say that in my review last week because I don't want to, have the comics influence my opinions on that stuff. And like I say, I'm not a comic reader. I'm not, totally up to date, but I've heard a lot of stuff about this part in the comics. And I know that the Guts plan did not work in the comics. That's a kind of a pivotal part of this war, of the end of the war at least. But in the show, they totally twisted it, and now it works. But I don't think it does. Like, I don't think it does, because I think in previous seasons, we've seen people being rubbed by Guts and being maybe even like pierced by Guts, and they have not gotten infected. So I think they're going down a dangerous road here with saying that this plan works, because I think that adds such a component now to the show where it's like this is another way of war, another way of like battling someone, right? Is to infect them with a guts covered weapon. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I would rather that it not worked. But it did cause some chaos this episode. What it's going to do past that, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be used again, because now the survivors know what to expect. They know what's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it working. I just don't think it totally makes sense in the story. But I would like to actually look back and see if that actually did happen, if someone was rubbed by Guts in the past and it didn't work. Because that kind of creates a plot hole here in the overall story of The Walking Dead, that whole like world, right? It just doesn't make sense. A little inconsistent there. But anyways, favorite character for this one is Maggie Rhee, played by Lauren Cohan. They're really taking Maggie's character and developing it a lot. She has changed so much since that season 7 premiere where she's totally helpless and she's in tears after Glenn's death. She's gone so far from that. She's really developed so much. Lauren Cohan's doing a great job. There's news about her maybe not coming back for season 9. I doubt it. I think she's going to be back, but obviously there's some drama going on. But anyways, I think that'll get sorted out. I think she'll be back. But yeah, Maggie, great character here. We're seeing her become a great leader. Everyone seems to like her. Everyone, seems to think that she cares about the people and the overall goal of that. But now we're also starting to see that maybe she's not okay with the cost of this war. Maybe she wants, this fighting to end because maybe it's not worth it for them. Who knows, right? We'll have to see where it takes her. But I think that's a big impact in what, what's going to shape her decisions going forward. So I think that's a big thing there, and definitely one of the biggest characters in the show, but sometimes we tend to forget about them because Rick and Daryl and Michonne are going out fighting and on the road and everything, and Maggie's just kind of sticking back, leading the Hilltop people. And now that the war has come to the Hilltop, now she's kind of a more significant figure in the show. So very interesting there. But anyways, I'll just about do it for this review of The Walking Dead. Thank you so much for tuning in to this one as well. Thank you so much for the recent support on the channel. Can't thank you guys enough. Really appreciate that. So thank you so much. I think we're at I don't know, I think close to 30,000 video views, which is awesome. I can't believe it. We were at 15,000 about a month and a half ago. So crazy stuff there. I'm really thankful for that. And please, I'm just going to advertise a little bit of my own stuff here. But please check out my new series on the channel, the pilot for that series, Let's Talk Television, it is called. It'll be a weekly series happening on Saturdays on the channel. I uploaded my first episode yesterday, all of it in the description, so please go and check that out. If you made it this far, please just take a minute and check it out, take a look at it, see if it's something you're interested in, and definitely, yeah, check it out. Tell me what you think as well, right? Because I want to make improvements to it as well as we go on. So criticism, definitely helpful there. So anyways, again, thank you so much for watching this review, and I'll see you next week. Looks like another good episode next week for The Walking Dead. So see you next week for episode 14, my review. Up then.